It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, let's review.
We'll analyze the scene.
Sounds holly jolly to me.
Before it's over, let's begin.
Bum.
Um,
That's right, folks. Since the Christmas season is upon us, we thought the way to celebrate and get into the holiday spirit would be with some holiday reviews.
12 to be exact. Decoratively divided into 4 categories for your Yuletide pleasure.
So, without further ado, silver up those bells, light the multicolored lights, and go out and build a snowman. Hopefully not a snowman as creepy as the one featured in this movie. And join us as we get into some seasonal shenanigans. Dragon, what are we unwrapping tonight?
Well, we are unwrapping the third. We're unwrapping the next in our movie category. We're unwrapping Jack Frost.
Every time I see the title of this movie, I just think of Martin Short just being all like, "I'm Jack Frost." What if there was like a crossover, like a Jack Frost? Like we have this Jack Frost, we have Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians, we have the Martin Short Jack Frost,
and we have the Jack Frost from the Rankin Bass.
Yes, and then of course you can't forget the slasher villain Jack Frost.
Yep, it's kind of a that's the bad guy from the crossover. Yeah, he's the bad guy.
I want to see this. Like Spider-Verse exists, Dragon. Why can't we get a Jack Frost verse?
God. And Chris Pine's in that one too.
God. All right. So, Dragon, this is going to be. I have a feeling this might be one of the most interesting discussions that we end up having. I had no idea what to expect from this movie coming in. I have nostalgia for it, but at the same point, I've actually never seen it, Dragon. The only thing I remember about this movie is I remember the ad campaign definitely intrigued me. It intrigued me enough to leave a mark on me. And you know what? Contrary to the jokes, I think the effects hold up okay. I mean, they're not like Jurassic Park level effects. They're not timeless by any means, but I think they get the job done. But back in the 90s, man, these effects were quite impressive, you know, to have a full-blown animated character like this was pre-Jar Jar Binks, you know what I'm saying, Dragon? Like this was a character fully conceived from the ground up to be in CGI the whole movie. I mean, that's some really high concept stuff for for back in the the late 90s. So I do give this movie a lot of respect in that regard, and as a kid, it did intrigue me. Here's the thing, Dragon. I knew exactly how sad this movie was going to be, even as a little kid, all right? I had instincts, all right? I knew exactly what the deal was going to be with this fucking movie. I knew that we were going to have to suffer the dad dying once, which is bad enough. And then, we were going to see the snowman melt. And it's like, why would I want to watch a movie where it basically gives us 2 Mufasa deaths for the price of 1? You know what I mean?
Would you say he's double dead?
Dragon, I kid you not. I avoided this movie for the longest time just because I knew how sad it was going to be. And no one wants to see Keaton die, man. And I got to tell you, Dragon, rewatching the movie, it's definitely not as morbid or as much of a downer as I thought it was going to be, and it's actually quite a fun movie. It's definitely got its heart in the right place for sure. I like it quite a bit, Dragon. This is one. It almost kind of feels like it's in the similar realm to the Grinch from this year, where I kind of just give it a holiday pass based on the charm it has. You know, it's got a lot of nice family moments in it. Of course, we have our boy Keaton. We love Keaton. Like I said, the effects I do give credit to for being pre-Jar Jar Binks all CG character. Like,
Okay, now right, now I got to stop you here just to inform you, he's not CG through the whole movie, Tiki.
Well, okay, but it's still a combination, and it's still an all effects based character.
True, very effects heavy character. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. So even if it's not throughout the whole movie, it's still a pretty ambitious task at hand. So I don't know, Dragon. I have a lot of respect for this one, and watching it through adult eyes, I definitely see the nostalgic charm there. It's not a perfect Christmas movie by any means, but what movie is perfect, really? Uh, like I said, it's got the Keaton charm. It's definitely got some inside out tissues worthy moments, but at the same point, it wears its heart on its sleeve as a '90s movie as well, which we'll talk about in some ways. So I'm excited to break this one down, Dragon. This is like there's a lot of different ways this discussion could go.
Right. So for me, Frost, it was definitely a nostalgic film for me. I remember this is like one of those like a handful of movies I remember premiering on what was then kind of this revolutionary thing called HBO, and the movies premiered on HBO, and you tape them and such, like that sort of thing. Takes me back to those days, which really kind of brings me back to my youth in that regard. I mean, the movie wowed me back then. It did. Keaton as a snowman. It's kind of a bizarre live action Frosty the Snowman in some regard. I don't know, maybe that tapped into it in some regard to me when I was young. I don't know, but it's kind of it's sort of like kind of a bizarre take on that, but in live action in regard. By no means the same caliber, but it's just kind of like a kind of a bizarre take on that. So it's yeah, definitely kind of a piece of nostalgia. I think we've definitely established that. Yeah, I don't really go back to this one that often, but I mean, it's kind of like it's an old familiar one. It's like kind of like you know it, you've seen it that one time and you know it. And again, I've like multiple viewings in my youth, just kind of watching a number of times, just like on the VHS tape, and just kind of. And now it kind of premieres all the time, and it'll be on like HBO. Like, again, so funny now. It's still on HBO. It's so funny now. Just out of complete sheer irony. It's like back when HBO has been on Netflix, it's been on, and just kind of my rewatch it on HBO yet again, so again, kind of a full circle sort of thing there. But yeah,
Nice.
get crossed. Okay,
All right. So hit us with some background, Dragon.
that's some interesting background on this. Not a lot, but interesting. So
Okay.
98 was kind of the nostalgic kind of. Let me put it this way. So the tipping point of nostalgic infamy is the late '90s. So the '90s specifically, the late '90s for Warner Brothers especially. And Warner Brothers in the late '90s really was a kind of a dicey time for them. And a time where sometimes they'd hit it big, but more often than not, they'd be trying to get a film off the ground like Superman Lives, or more accurately, you have a lot of films kind of like happening and just kind of bombing after bomb after bomb, which would of course lead to a Superman movie not being made. Anyway, so the point is, this is kind of the framework of which this movie is being made, and this is presumably how you get a movie like Jack Frost made. So again, this thing we've kind of been exploring a lot on Seasonal Shenanigans. You have a few movies that feel like, if not, it's the actual story. Only the guys in Hollywood really know this one. You have a premise or a script that someone kind of brings around with them that kind of gets kind of presented to Hollywood, kind of floats around for a number of years, and eventually lands at Warner Brothers in this case.
Yeah.
When this movie was in development, I heard there's like I don't know how true all of this is, but this is from what I could find. There's like there were a lot of big names who were attached to this movie at various points throughout its production. So initially, I don't know if he was the sole one at the very start of it, but Sam Raimi was slated to direct this initially. Sam Raimi initially was supposed to direct this, and like his brother, I believe it was Ivan Raimi. I believe that's I think he has a brother. Yeah, he has a couple brothers. He always puts on his productions like Ted Raimi, who's in the Spider-Man movies, and so I believe Ivan Raimi was writing this movie with him. So again, like he got to the point where he was developing a draft for the movie, and Raimi was set to direct. Again, kind of like per the usual as what Raimi's used to. But that fell through, and I believe attached to that version, if not just shortly after that, they had a very different actor in the lead for this movie who was kind of slated and everything to be in the movie until the last minute. That actor was George Clooney. George Clooney was, and you're gonna love
considering
this.
like Warner Brothers in the late '90s.
Okay, don't get ahead of me here. You're gonna love this. All right, so George Clooney
Okay.
George Clooney was slated as Jack Frost, and he was locked into it. Uh, But around this time, now again, I'm not entirely sure, like production schedule wise, how this quite worked out. But essentially, the word is that he was doing Batman and Robin in '90. He's doing Batman and Robin, which came out. It came out in '97. So I don't know if they were like trying to cram the whole production into the year of '97, which they would be filming this movie in. I'm not sure if that was the case because I know Batman and Robin was a rush production. It's just a question of like, how did they rush like shortly after Batman Forever, and then just kind of stalled a little bit, or did they just try to cram it into 1 year that it came out essentially? So the point is, Clooney's busy with Batman and Robin in '97, which is when this movie's filming. So they have to pull him out of it, and again, very last minute sort of thing. You know how I know it's last minute. This is the one thing I can really say because I found out that the Jim Henson Company, the Jim Henson Creature Shop specifically, they had a problem. So they were designing the snowman, and as you'll see, even in the final result, if you really look closely, the snowman is still designed to look like George Clooney.
Oh God!
If you really look, and especially look at the eyes and the eyebrows and everything.
I mean, I knew it didn't really bear any sort of resemblance to Keaton, but yeah, I could see it now. That honestly makes the snowman even creepier, Dragon.
So that's the funny thing. So again, you have the irony of I don't know if this is directly their thing. I'd love to think this was directly their thinking of one Batman kind of pulled out of the role, so they went to the original Batman to put him in the role. So they went to Michael Keaton. That's kind of like the age-old joke for the movie, but it's just kind of like you wonder if maybe again again we still use the Clooney snowman because you have the Jim Henson Creature Shop work up a design for it. You can only do so much to really change that. Plus, I'm filling in the blanks here for this part, but I would imagine. They do a mock-up. They do they have a functional puppet to start with with Jack Frost the Snowman, and there is a lot of computer animation. This is again still early computer animation. It's 90 circa 97 computer animation, and for my essentially you're gonna have a model and you have to scan it in kind of scan over the triangles in a way, and when you scan over those triangles and kind of the points on the clay model or kind of whatever model they're scanning in, you're kind of stuck with that unless you make radical changes, and they want something that's consistent with the puppets for the close-up shots and the CG for the for the effects, and doing so they're really just stuck with the Clooney looking snowman. And also in the way they perform the puppet in other scenes too. If they perform stuff with just the snowman before Keaton was kind of shooting his scenes. So again, the point is, the Jim Henson Creature Shop crew, they were in deep trouble with this movie. They had a lot to combat for this movie. So they got a different director. So the director they settled on was Troy Miller. Now Troy Miller is kind of an obscure name, but I think again he's kind of in that weird, not so nostalgic framework, but he's in kind of the post nostalgic framework, if you will. Where Troy Miller, he directed a lot of various diverse things. He's directed a number of stand up specials for comedians. He's directed a lot of episodes on TV. But in terms of his films, he's got kind of these obscure, weird comedies to his name, like the Dumb and Dumber prequel. You remember that? Do you remember the Dumb and Dumber prequel?
Oh, don't remind me. Oh, man.
Dumb and Dumber, How Harry Met Lloyd, that one.
Yes, I remember.
So again, this was his big break. So Jack Frost was his big kind of live-action, full-length kind of big break. And then he did some other spin-offs, like Run, Ronnie, Run, which is a Mr. Show thing. You do have some Mr. Show people in this movie because he had worked with, again, with his TV credentials, he'd worked on Mr. Show with Bob Odenkirk and David Cross. And basically, David Cross did a character called Ronnie, who was not a thief, but he's just kind of like a hoodlum character. And it's kind of a gag there. So again, he was on the run. So he did basically a lot of kind of TV to film stuff, or kind of spin-off, a lot of spin-off stuff. That's kind of what this guy went on to do. And the writer, again, this isn't quite helping either, but this one's a mixed bag. I think you're going to appreciate. So the writer on this was Mark Steven Johnson. Does that name ring any bells for you?
It sounds familiar. Definitely sounds familiar.
Mark Steven Johnson's has fingerprints on some dicey, some good, and some unique things. Like he wrote Simon Birch. I believe he might have directed that as well, but he wrote Simon Birch. You know, the movie where Jim Carrey's the narrator. It's about good movie.
Uh-huh.
Kind of weird in places, but overall it's a nice movie. And he wrote Daredevil. You know, the Ben Affleck Daredevil in 2003,
Uh-huh.
which. And the most recent thing that he's done is he was one of the writers on Christopher Robin.
Oh, okay.
So again,
Huh.
kind of dicey. Of course, while they're working on this movie, just literally by sheer coincidence, the Jack Frost horror movie comes out a year early. It was a year early in '97 while they're
That
working on
must have
this.
sent them through a loop.
Yep, and of course, like, oh god, it's like when they're making Big Tiki. It's like they have all these other body switch premises come out in the meantime. It's
Uh-huh.
like, oh great, and this one literally has the same name.
Curse you, Jack Frost, for being a public domain character.
And let's see. So again, before like Clooney was locked in, and before Clooney and Michael Keaton were kind of locked into their roles, you had other names being considered. Like Alec Baldwin was considered. You're gonna like these next two names are considered. This kind of feeds the seasonal shenanigans loop. Just to kind of call back some earlier stuff we've done. Mel Gibson was considered.
Oh God. Okay. Okay.
Daddy's Home 2 reference there, and Kurt Russell, who Kurt Russell was also considered, and just of course the Christmas Chronicles of it all. It's really quite funny. D'Onofrio was almost in this movie. D'Onofrio and Danny DeVito were considered for the Mac role, kind of the friend role, and just because you kept mentioning Jar Jar Binks like crazy, Jake Lloyd was considered for Charlie. I can't
Oh
remember.
God.
I think this was a year after. Wait, no, Jingle All the Way was '99. I think Jingle All the Way was.
Oh,
I keep forgetting when Jingle All the Way is between '97 or '99. It's one of those 3 years. But Jake Lloyd is either coming off of that or he was in production. That maybe that's why he turned it down. But again, before they all knew. Before they knew. Anyway, so last thing, this is the most important thing. So, uh, Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert gave this movie a scathing review.
oh
Like one of the
God.
most scathing reviews he's ever given. Let me just read you like a small piece of it, okay? Here's one of the things, the crescendo of criticism that he lobbed at this movie. He says,
Okay. Okay.
Jack Frost, the Jack Frost character, the snowman version of Keaton, is the most repulsive creature in the history of effects.
Wow. Wow.
I'm saying that's pretty scathing, right?
Harsh words.
Yeah. All right. So that's all she wrote for the back on the background.
Okay. All right. Hit us with some plot, Dragon, and this one legitimately does have a pretty decent plot.
The plot goes a little like so. You have a musician and family man by the name of Jack Frost.
Jack Frost.
Yes. Jack Frost, and he misses many events in his son Charlie's life.
Stop me if this sounds familiar.
Misses many events in Charlie's life. He gives Charlie a magic harmonica. Then he dies in a car accident. So Charlie plays this harmonica.
As you do.
Yes, Charlie plays this harmonica a year later, around Christmas. Jack Frost comes back as a snowman. Like the snowman like he and Charlie had built the year previously, identical to one of those snowmen. So Jack, meanwhile, Jack, now that he's back, he reconnects with Charlie and helps him through some crises. We have kind of a basically the plot takes a Frosty the Snowman turn in the third act, where it's like we got to cool Jack Frost off. We got to cool him off by taking him to the woods, the very wintry, snow-covered woods before it's too late.
That
Mom
just
gets
happens to contain a cabin.
Yes, very thankfully. And of course, by the end of it, Mom is looped in at the cabin. They're all at the cabin on Christmas, like they planned to at the very beginning. Jack is, in doing so, he's kind of solved his unfinished business. It's been resolved, so Jack's spirit says goodbye to the family, and that's all she wrote, and that's the movie.
All right, so let's get started with some characters, starting with Jack Frost himself. Dragon, I love Michael Keaton, and I love Michael Keaton in this movie. I love Keaton as a family man. You know what I don't really buy Keaton as?
What?
A musician, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right?
Dragon, my God, I mean, like I said, I love all the Family Man stuff with Keaton in this movie, but oh my God, his songs are just so Dragon. I'm gonna just put it bluntly, his songs are like the songs that the Viva Viagra guys would sing.
Huh.
Please tell me you know what I'm talking about.
I gotta tell you, I'm a bit of a loss.
Damn it! Damn it! Ah. It's a commercial, man. It's a fucking Viagra commercial where all these freaking like middle-aged dudes are singing about, that song Viva Las Vegas.
But it's Viva Viagra.
Yes. Yes. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
I don't know. I just say to put it simply, these songs are weak, man. They're lame sauce. Like, oh, we're gonna do Frosty the Snowman, but we're gonna do it as a blues song. And then meanwhile, you have like the Michael J. Fox equivalent. Like, you gotta hear this. The kids are gonna go nuts. I don't know. I did not buy that element of the movie at all, Dragon.
Yeah, but getting back to the other point, I mean, Keaton, he's just being this kind of charming, snarky guy, likable yet, he's the classic likable yet busy dad, but importantly likable. There's no element of, I mean, this guy's such an absentee parent, but no, we see he's legitimately getting busy and successful. Why? We have no idea, because those songs really don't cut the mustard, but he's getting busy and things are going good for him is the point.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't. I love this about the character. Rewatching it years later, I got to tell you, rewatching it, I love that. I love that he doesn't take the second chance lightly. I love that he's just kind of the guy endures a lot as a snowman, and I love that he comes back after kind of a brief kind of stroll about town, kind of processing things. He accepts this absurd situation and he rolls with it. And that's the thing I love about the character. He rolls with this absurd premise because, as we established when he was human, the guy is a good father. He's a good family man. He wants to be there for his kid. He's not taking the second chance lightly because he did things wrong. He realizes this, and that's why he wants to be there, even at risk to himself. And don't get me wrong. I think there's some questions in his parenting, kind of coming from beyond the grave, are a little bit in question. But I mean, still, all that said, I think he has this great arc of. All of that said, I still think he has this great arc of preparing his son for his disappearance, which, if you really think about it, I know it sounds quite profound for Jack Frost if you really think about it, but again, it's kind of
you're absolutely right, though. It is this kind of like from the very get-go, he knows he can't stick around forever. He knows that this is like I don't know, man. It's a very like it's almost kind of like a oh God, I'm trying to draw like some sort of parallel to literature, but I like help me out. It almost kind of feels like Hans Christian Andersen, like
I guess, yeah.
In the sense that like the tragedy is inevitable. What we really need to focus on is how to deal with the tragedy.
Right. Again, it's a parent preparing their child for their inevitable ending. It's kind of something kind of very. Again, it's an age-old kind of archetypal story in regards. Again, kind of an unusual setting, but again, it's quite endearing though. So again, importantly, they're not skipping out on kind of the characterization and kind of the strength of character with Keaton here. Again, we're kind of and kind of what kicks off the events with the musician angle. It's again they kind of need, because we need some sort of magical totem via the harmonica. So they figured, I guess, harmonica musician, that whole thing. They want to give them something kind of lively to do and something that would take them on the road. In doing so, again, a little strange, but again, importantly, the heart of the matter is still there, and that's what's kind of carrying this character. And again, importantly, powering through the absurd premise.
All
right.
Okay, let's talk about Charlie.
Yes. So Charlie here. Charlie, good kid. I like
talked about Charlie from the Santa Claus. It would be like basically talking about the same character.
You know what I like about Charlie here? I really like that Charlie, he's a good kid. He's very Keaton-esque. I mean, did you pick up on any of that? Am I crazy? Didn't the kid seem like you could buy him as like Keaton's son?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's giving him I wasn't looking too far into his performance, if I'm being honest.
And you just hate all the kids this year, don't you?
Yeah, there's been a couple I've liked, hasn't there? I like that one girl from Daddy's Home too.
Yes, you like Scarlett Estevez. All right. That's
freaking. What's that line?
Pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes, bitches. I like her.
Okay, fine. Okay, all right. All right, anyway, but yeah, see,
And it's not that I dislike this kid. I just feel like this kid is kind of like generic 90s nice kid.
let's say I like that he kind of stuck up for the little guy. I like that quality of him, which kind of felt like that's kind of a Keaton-esque quality I kind of saw in the kid. You know, where he can basically one of my favorite bits with Charlie is when he clocks Rory with the snowball. I love that.
Uh,
And that to me says, oh, there's a guy, there's a good kid right there. You know, sticking up to the bully because the little guy is being threatened. Like, yeah, that's very Keaton. That's the Keaton-esque quality specifically I'm referring to. I don't know. But looking beyond that, from I do like that we see that Charlie as a character, he's internalizing his loss. You know, so after the loss of his father, we see he's been very despondent, been very kind of at a distance, both visually and metaphorically with his friends. And when presented the second chance, you know, it's kind of a this gives Charlie an opportunity for closure and eventually getting to say goodbye, despite the fact like, oh, we're never going to be ready for that. You know. But in the
uh.
meantime, just having fun with Snow Dad. All right. Yeah, let's talk about
So
Gabby.
Gabby,
Yes, Gabby Frost, played by the wonderful. I gotta tell you, really, I don't see Kelly Preston in a lot of stuff, but I gotta tell you, I've seen her in a couple of things. I really liked her, and this is one of them. I thought she was really good in this. She doesn't do a lot in this movie. I think she's good in this movie.
yeah, I mean, you're right. She doesn't do a lot. I feel like she kind of fits in with a lot of the other moms we've talked about in seasonal shenanigans this year, where she does the job well. She doesn't get a lot to do, but when she's there, she's effective. I like how she's trying to be there for her son when in the time of need, but it's really like any parent, they're not perfect at it. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing I really like about her that I really want to give her points for is that, you know, Kelly Preston, she brings like a very sweet genuineness to the role, and importantly, I love how she sells concern. She sells concern very well. Like she's not committing Charlie. You know, basically it's like this. So like, you know,
Oh,
Charlie, he's seen as he's bringing the snowman around with him like it was a security blanket, and he's going through. He's talking like the snowman's alive, and she's not committing him instantly. She's not doing the mistake we've seen in so many movies or TV shows, or like she's not making that age old mistake like my kid's crazy, I got to overreact, or I got to like shake him and yell at him or something like that. She's concerned, but she's nurturing it and handling it very carefully. You know, she's not just yelling at him or telling you that snowman's not real. I'm going to blowtorch that snowman just to prove it to you. She's not doing anything like that. You
uh-huh.
know, which is rather refreshing.
I do like the scene at the bank where she's just like, this is what I'm talking about, where she's kind of at wit's end, but at the same point, she's trying so hard. She's like, Charlie, your dad died a year ago. No, Mom, he's the snowman. And she's just trying so hard to keep a straight face through all of it.
Yep.
All right. Okay, let's talk about Mac. No, not the terrible character from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Right. So we're talking. So Max played by Mark Addy, who I think is gonna be. I just want to see if you recognize this guy. Did you recognize him at all?
He looked familiar. I couldn't quite place from where.
Okay, this is gonna be great because I didn't realize it at first either. But I did have that same thing. But he looked familiar. I looked it up, and you won't believe who he is.
Okay, who is he?
Uh,
Who is he?
so he again. So the actor is Mark Addy, and Mark Addy was was nostalgically notable for being Fred Flintstone in Viva Rock Vegas.
Oh no! Oh god, that's great.
With him.
I love it. I love it.
And again, you see, that's
Do
what
have
again,
some hardcore nostalgia for Viva Rock Vegas, all right? And you know what? I'll even defend Viva Rock Vegas as maybe being a little better than the first Flintstones movie.
I disagree there. I mean, come on. It's
I don't know. I think Viva Rock Vegas is a little bit more creative on a visual level than the first one
it's better
was.
than Betty. The original one's better than Betty falling in love for kind of like a pseudo beetle. I mean, come on.
He's not a pseudo beetle. He's the rocker fella. He's a Mick Jagged.
All right, sorry, but
He's a
I mean, like, remember,
dragon. Get it right.
remember, he wears
Get it
like
right.
he wears like that weird kind of like It's not important anyway. Let's get back on point here.
He's a Rolling Stone. I'm just saying, if you're going to complain about it, get it right. He's clearly supposed to be a parody of Mick Jagger.
All right, of course, yeah, I want Rolling Stone. I wonder why. All right, anyway, let's talking about the match.
Viva Rock Vegas is a crowning cinematic masterpiece. All right.
Anyway, getting back on points. But
when
yeah,
I grow up, I want to be Catwoman. All right.
Anyway, getting back on points. So, Mark Addy, in all seriousness, so I think he plays he kind of plays the nice sidekick very well. He's just kind of the sidekick looking out for the family since Jack's passing. Yeah, and it looks like by the end he's kind of on the path to kind of be. Looks like he's on the path to getting the band back together in a way. At least kind of.
He does have a really good scene with Charlie about how speaking to him from his perspective of how his father was, and his father's, and what his father wanted for Charlie. I thought that was a nice scene at the snow festival or whatever the hell they were going to.
Yeah, just kind of again, it's a good scene. It's just kind of a little strange when you think about it, just kind of like, man, fathers and sons building snowmen kind of during this festival. Like a little obvious with the symbolism there, but okay.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I do like that he's kind of. I like that he went from a musician to kind of a guy working at the hardware store making keys. I kind of like that quality of it. It went from that to
right. I didn't even think about that kind of parallel, but you're right. That is kind of clever.
Well, again, it just seems really nice.
Playing the keys to making the keys.
Yeah. I don't even remember if he played. Oh, yeah, he did play the piano. That makes all the sense. Oh, my God.
Take back Christopher Nolan.
Wait, what?
Sorry.
Anyway. Okay. Let's move on to...
I swear to God, I haven't been drinking Dragon.
Well, if you say pancakes, we'll know. All right. Let's talk about Sid Gronic, otherwise known as the hockey coach.
Okay, this guy is such a Nickelodeon character, is he not?
You know what's funny? You're gonna love it. You set me up for it. So you say Nickelodeon character. He is portrayed by Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins. He's done a number of. He's done a lot of voice work.
He's another guy where the name and face sound familiar, but I can't quite place him. So tell me, I'm dying to know.
He's done a lot of neat voice roles. Like he's played Kilowog, but I think the role I wanted to bring up for the Nickelodeon was Henry Rollins. He was on Legend of Korra as like a really great villain. He's like the big bad of season 3, and he was excellent. And I was just with the old Nickelodeon kind of caliber of it all there. I know he's done other things. I don't think you're gonna recognize any off the top of the ones that are on the top of my head. So we'll go over that. We'll look into that later. Point is, Henry Rollins is a good actor. Is what I'm getting at. Henry Rollins. He kind of plays kind of a fun comedic role because Henry Rollins usually plays a lot of tough guys. It's kind of he's
like the doofus adult in any Nickelodeon sitcom.
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing. I got to tell you, for me, it was kind of refreshing to see him in that, because usually he's in kind of like a kind of a more strong and kind of more of a strong characterization. Here, it's just he's the coach who isn't a stereotypical coach. He has a stereotypical kind of a goofy adult response to things, which we'll get to later on. But I do like he just kind of has this. We have this great running gag of being traumatized by this familiar, again, not the inquisitive talking snowman, but there's a familiar talking snowman. He scared me, and he's like traumatized by it. He's like going to the news and like whenever the kids are talking about.
Now I want to see a Frozen Ever After holiday Halloween overlay featuring the horror movie Jack Frost.
Oh God. So Sid Gronic, not a lot there. He's just kind of the good-hearted, kind of hockey coach. It's about it.
Yeah, like I said, the Nickelodeon of it all is what really kind of struck out to me.
I just really like, because when I was rewatching the movie, I was expecting, okay, we're gonna have like Jack got wind of the hockey coach, and I was figuring okay, so the hockey coach is gonna be like a guy yelling at Charlie or something. Then he's gonna have a bone to pick with him. But no, it wasn't that at all. It was just he was a really nice guy. Okay. Let's talk about, I guess, one of the big standouts. Let's talk about Rory Buck.
Rory Buck, yes. Let's kind of save the end of his arc for one of my favorite moments. But just to put it simply, man, this guy is a twat.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, he's just like, as a bully, he is just kind of the worst until he gets that redemption. You know what I mean? I don't know. He's just like kind of like the worst kind of like stereotypical like, like 90s Nickelodeon bully. Again, it's funny that like Coach, like the Coach, he represents something of the Nickelodeon era, but in which case we have a lot of fondness and nostalgia for like the wacky adult character in a Nickelodeon sitcom. None of us like the bully characters. You know what I mean? This guy's like a Lars.
Yeah, in a way, but again, it's refreshing that he has somewhat of an arc. And I gotta tell you though, he didn't. I like that he didn't quite like he didn't just beat up our guy. Just they kind of attacked each other with snow. I mean, that was like the bit where it's still again. There's implied that maybe there's some other violence going on. I don't know, but on the whole, he just seemed. I viewed him as kind of like a nicer version of Scott Farkus. That's kind of what I viewed Rory as. He's kind of like, what if Scott Farkus had an arc? That's kind of what it is.
Uh-huh.
You know. Yeah, he's continually outshined by Charlie Frost, who's kind of good at stuff, and just kind of Rory's just kind of wants to take him down a peg. It's kind of it fuels that dynamic. He has like the weird Slim Jim thing where he's like using the Slim Jim as like a cigar, as like he's Patton or something. He's definitely got some daddy issues that probably results in the bullying path. A little more on that later. All right.
Right. So, Dragon, this will be interesting. Let's make a list. Let's check it twice. Let's find out what in this movie is naughty and nice.
All right, so let's see. Again, I guess starting with the nice. The family's charming and well cast. Again, I think the movie overall is well cast. The third act, I feel, kind of ties everything together nicely. It's we address the absurdity of the premise very realistically, not that really realistically at the sorry, let me rephrase that. We address the absurdity of the premise realistically at a good point in the story. We just we get it out of the way. We don't spend a lot of time kind of establishing like, oh, you must be crazy for that snowman being alive. We do like a scene or maybe a scene, maybe two of that, but then we get over it real fast. So that's good. I love that the heart of the story. The heart of the story is a boy bonding with the spirit of his dead father. That's kind of beautiful when you think about it. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I like kind of weighing in the nice qualities. It's definitely one of those. It very much almost kind of reminds me of like a Don Bluth film in a way, Dragon, where it's it takes you on this kind of journey on this journey on an emotional level. You know what I mean?
Right, and I don't know if this next point's going to be simpatico with everybody, but I thought the snowman. I thought the snowman comedy was kind of cute. I'm not saying it's great, it's just kind of cute. I don't know. Some people might roll their eyes.
I think it's fine. I think there's maybe a little bit too much of it.
Yeah, but you rarely do you see that much snowman comedy. It's like it's cute. I'll give it at least like it's seasonal pass sort of thing. I gotta give it a pass.
All
right. So the naughty. Well, so here's something I really know structurally when I was rewatching it. It has a very slow act one. 40 minutes to an hour before the premise really gets started. Like 40 minutes until Jack dies.
Dragon, you know what's funny is that I really didn't mind that just because I'm so enamored by Keaton. Like, to me, I almost didn't want Keaton to turn into the snowman just because I really like Keaton's screen presence.
And Tiki, that's the thing. I feel that's somewhat of a problem because it makes you basically it sets you again. If you weren't in for it when he becomes a snowman, then you're going to be really disappointed because you spent that much time kind of building up love for that character. It's a question of like character getting in the way, basically character versus premise. Where again, character is important. It's important that you fall in love with them, but if you fall too much in love with them, you're going to wonder why isn't that guy still in the movie? Why did we turn him into a snowman?
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I'm not saying is a problem, like turning him into a snowman. I just think that maybe I'd imagine like cutting the time either back in half or at least by 10 minutes because like it's 40 minutes before he comes back as a snowman, and roughly an hour before like the kid's on the same page with him. Like one of the two,
right.
You get on the same page and some variety. Again, it's nothing that hurts the movie tremendously, but it is something when you really look at it, it's like the movie's marketed on this whole premise of like it's like all Jack Frost. It's something it is important to the movie, but And again, it's not a
And with
huge.
that being said, I feel like we get like what, maybe three major set pieces with Jack Frost as a snowman. We have
Uh,
the ball fight, the hockey game, and then the cabin.
Pretty much, yeah,
That's not really a lot considering, like you said, that is our main selling point of the whole film.
yeah. And I don't know if maybe I'm just gonna interpret here. I wonder if maybe that's because they were afraid of how the snowman effects were looking in the movie or something like that. I wonder if maybe that's why they kind of had in the like the final edit of the movie. Maybe they kind of balanced more Keaton out with it to kind of compensate. I don't know. Maybe.
To me, what the ad campaign kind of reminds me of is Bridge to Terabithia, where like it's a really solid movie on its own right, but it's more of an emotional family drama than it is like a light comedy romp, or in Terabithia's case, like a fantasy romp. You know what I mean? Like both movies really deal with some hardcore family drama and domestic struggles. And their trailers were just kind of like, in Jack Frost's case, it's like, come see the wacky talking snowman. And then in Bridge to Terabithia's case, he was basically, come to the magical fantasy world. And, in either case, I feel like Jack Frost is almost kind of a supporting character in his own movie in a way. He's really there to guide Charlie along, who is the main character of the film, I think. And Bridge to Terabithia, Terabithia itself is just sort of this, again, it's more of a plot device than it is the main location of the movie. We, much like with Jack Frost, we only get like maybe 3 or 4 set pieces actually set in Terabithia the whole movie. I don't know, Dragon. I can see like movie marketing like this is kind of an interesting case study for me.
Right. I can't help but wonder if the family's maybe a little too snarky. I mean, it's charming, but then I think here's what gets me about it. It's back to back when we do that. It's not just like I don't know. It feels a little less natural because it just keeps like they're really kind of shoving it in your face. Like they're snarky and clever, aren't they? Look at them. They're kind of taking shots at each other.
Right, right.
It's the Frost family for you. They're really snarky.
I can see that. I can see that.
Literally at the start of it, and we have some stuff we'll get into. Again, it's charming, but it's just like, man, it's just really kind of cramming it down your throat, isn't it?
All right, all right. I think I know what you're getting at.
Let's see. So the snowman effects are definitely dicey, to say the least. They're dicey, but for me, I think with the design of Jack Frost as a snowman, he's overly proportioned. That snowman is too tall and he's too big to be like an actually constructed snowman like that. That feels off to me. Like rarely do you see snowmen like that big.
Oh,
I mean, like the head's huge when you really think about it, and they need that for the expressiveness of the face and the puppeteering. And it just feels like it's something like something feels off. And again, they have to compensate for that when they do CG and everything on it. But it feels like again, like I'm not. I'll be. A part of me wants to be really forgiving of the snowman effects. I'm all for like kind of having your main character kind of turn into a puppet. That's interesting. I like that. But again, I just wish the puppet looked a little better.
yeah, I can see that.
Because again, when we do see these shots of like Jack moving on his own, it just looks really weird. Because again, he has like this huge, ill-proportioned body kind of moving and everything. Just looks ridiculously like he's not top heavy. He looks bottom heavy. He just looks really bottom heavy. And let's see. The movie makes me question why not loop Gabby in faster. It's kind of a gimme because you need it for the movie, but it still makes me wonder because again, ultimately Gabby, she's dialed into it, but it's like one of those things. It's movie logic, where we need Gabby to be in the dark for a large portion of the movie until the very end, and I get that, but at the same token, I mean, it's I just wonder why all the secrecy. Why is I mean, Jack's willing to
I mean, it's almost
traumatize.
like they never even like try. You know what I mean? It's like there's never a moment where Gabby sees the snowman talking and freaks out. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. In some ways, that might be profound. Like maybe Keaton's like kind of in some way kind of protecting Gabby by
I
not
mean,
showing.
that's the thing. I mean, here's the line the movie walks for me. And again, I see your point, and that's the thing. Like, part of me wants to be just it's like a gimme thing. It has to happen, and he is trying to protect her. But by the same token, when you really think about it, you know, Jack is putting a lot of strain on Charlie with the whole, like, he's the kid dragging around the snowman on a sled. And again, not really thinking about the ramifications of anything like that, and like, people just make, like, his friends think he's crazy, and that's the thing. Like, I'm unsure of how to feel about that, because that makes me think, okay, well, if Jack just speaks in front of Gabby, then we're all just, everybody gets looped in and mystery solved, and you've already, you're gonna have to deal with saying goodbye to Charlie. Might as well do it to Gabby. So Charlie's not gonna just not gonna have, so she's not gonna look at Charlie like he's crazy. So it's, I don't know. It's kind of
right. I could see. Yeah, you're totally barking up the same tree I am here, Dragon.
We have another gimme where there's sort of and again, this one's less of a problem. It's just something to consider. There's kind of like an unspoken rules of the afterlife at play here, where, like, I part of me wonders rewatching the movie. So again, so Jack, he was in a car accident. He had passed there, so then he's back, and when he comes back, it's like a question like, so again, it brings up all these oddly philosophical questions and I guess religious questions for a movie about a talking snowman. It's like, so did he just, like, was his spirit did he go up there and then he came back? Like, was he in limbo? Was he the very next moment, like, he just, like, woke up from the crash or something? Like, what happened? It's like a logic thing you can easily give a pass to. It's just like,
yeah,
wonders. Sure. And last thing, this one fits into the bullying thing. Those kids almost willfully tried to kill Charlie because they pushed him. They knew that he was going off to a cliff. And again, they knew there's, like, nowhere else to go, and they're still throwing snowballs at him. And he's dangling from the side, obviously about to die, and nobody's doing anything. They try to willfully kill that kid.
right.
Levels are mixed up, but for the holiday season.
Okay. All right. Favorite scenes. So yeah, Dragon, I understand that the first act does go on too long, but like I said, I'm just a sucker for Keaton, man. I love seeing live action Keaton, and maybe if the Jack Frost model would have looked more like Keaton, I could have gotten behind him a little bit more. But I gotta say, I'll take as much Keaton as I can get. Other than his songs being really lame and kind of like it's a stretch in believability that anyone would actually want to sign his band. I do like him hanging out with his band. That's all fun, and I like that Mac becomes a more major character later on. That's some good connective tissue narratively right there. But specifically, Dragon, I love the way that he interacts with his family. I love the little exchange outside of the house where he's just like, "Pardon me, ma'am, my car seems to have broken down. Could I borrow a couple bucks until I get to a service station?" And the wife's just like, "Oh, money. Well, I don't know about that. My husband's a musician. Oh, is he any good? Yeah, he is good." I don't know, Drake. They're just it's just kind of, you know what I mean? It's just kind of.
Look, that's charming, and I like that, Teague. I have no problems with that. It just feels like literally a second later when he checks in with his kid, it's like then we have a whole nother scene like that. It's a little weirdly paced.
Yeah, in that scene, it's basically just like, "Oh, I wasn't sleeping. I was just resting my eyes. Oh, sure looks like you were sleeping to me, Charlie. Yeah, I don't know, Charlie. Sure looked like you were sleeping."
That to me feels like a pointless conversation.
There was a shut up button.
Yeah, that's a pointless conversation right there. It's like, why are we just going over the opposite? Again, that to me is like the over snarky thing again. But again, like, you're right though. We start off like, I'm all for the Keaton charm.
Yeah, and that's basically all I have for that. It's, like I said, the most memorable one for me is oh, my husband's a musician. Is he any good? Yeah, he is good. I don't know. Like I said, it's just nice.
Well, I'm sorry, one more thing just to add to the Keaton charm of it all. That harmonica seems really nice.
Oh.
Remember the idea that he bought that harmonica, the one that he's used in his career. He uses that harmonica. He bought that harmonica when his son was born. Of course, he gave it again. That's kind of a nice little gesture there. A nice little story, like him passing it down to him, and of course, the son rejecting it, and vice versa.
Sure. Okay, then we have the Snowball Fight, which is the first time that Charlie and Jack as the snowman really interact with each other. Dragon, I honestly probably think, like, on a pure filmmaking level, this is probably the best scene of the movie. It flows together really well. It's edited in a pretty frantic understandable kind of way. We do a lot of fun stuff with Jack Frost, both in terms of CGI, a little bit of puppetry work. It all blends together pretty nicely. The action is clearly shot. You can tell what's going on. The antagonists are clearly defined. I don't know. I think it works a lot on a lot of levels. It ticks a lot of boxes for me. And then I guess finally, I really like the truce between Rory and Charlie at the end of the movie. I especially love Rory's reaction to hearing Jack talk for the first time as a snowman. He's just like, at first he just has this expression on his face, like the gears in his head are turning, but they're not quite processing it just yet. And he's just like, who talked? Who said that? Jack's just like, I said it. Yeah, get on with it. Talking snowman. And we get the we do get that really nice kind of bit where it's like, I don't know, it's so freaking corny, Dragon, but that's honestly kind of why I love it. Where it's just like, you know what it's like to not have a dad? Yeah, I do. I'm sorry, Dragon. Do you have the line? The line.
Yeah, he says it sucks. Yeah, that's what he says. Yeah, I do. It sucks.
No, I think he says something like, "Yeah, I do. It really sucks."
There you
go. And yes, indeed, not having a dad does really suck, says Jack Frost. So I don't know, Dragon. Like I said, it's a very on the nose kind of moment, and you can kind of see it. You can kind of see the the reconciliation between the bully coming a mile away, but it's pulled off well. It's got some good gags with Keaton, and it's just all together a nice third act. It's one of the few really lighthearted moments of the third act before it goes all inside out tissues on us.
Yeah.
All right, hit us with your 3.
All right, so first off, I love the scene where Jack unintentionally is going to scar Sid for life, where we have the coach in his car, and again, like he's been informed that like the year before he passed, he was told about the hockey coach and everything. So again, he knows the name and he's probably recognized the guy. Anyway, so the point is, he's basically having this existential. Basically, he's putting it together. Okay, I'm a snowman. That's kind of weird, but I mean, is it the name Jack Frost? Is the universe just uncreative? Is that again? That's a fun scene. So as he's walking down as he's kind of shuffling down the snow-covered streets, Sid is driving up, and he's like, he's in the middle of the street here, and he says, "Hey Sid, how's it going?" He's just kind of chatting up Sid there, and Sid panics, and he's just freaking out, and he just drives backwards. It's like just seeing Henry Rollins just kind of freak out like that, and just like drive backwards. Yeah. And the fact that for the whole movie he's still traumatized by it. That's a crazy. I forgot like how much of a running gag that was. That's wonderful. All right. It's kind of like the cop from Frosty in a way. And I love the cop from Frosty. It's kind of like one of those gigs. Anyway, let's see. So then, of course, the big moment of Jack showing up at the big game, and of course, like it's kind of him amending his big mistake in life where he did not go to his son's hockey game, and he's doing it at great risk to himself. He's crossing the hot pavement while the snow is melting. Very painful for him, but he makes it. Really heroic when you think about it. See, I do like the element of sweat and kind of like melting on the snowman, just seeing like how battered and bruised he is from again doing the noble thing at great risk to himself. There, it's kind of nice. Yes. Lastly, would be the big goodbye scene. Again, it's kind of an easy go-to, but I mean it works, folks. It just really works. Where the profound thing I kind of forgot about is I love that. They were able to spend Christmas at the very same place they were planning on going before, his trip got interrupted and everything. Where, Jack is basically, I love this. So Jack's like talking on the phone to Gabby, and she's picking up on like, Jack, is that you? And of course, then she goes to the cabin. They're all three of them are there on Christmas Day, like Merry Christmas and everything. And of course, he's found closure and he disappears. And in his last moments, he goes from the visage of the snowman to Michael Keaton, he's kind of saying goodbye, and he's singing the smile song that Gabby likes. It's really beautiful and really kind of whimsical. I think that scene contributes to a lot of the stay power and a lot of the heart of the movie. Without that scene, I don't think this movie gets a lot of points aside from just like, oh man, remember that weird movie with Keaton as a snowman? I think you get the heart of the movie, like the legitimate good stuff in the movie through that last scene. But I think. All right.
Okay, and finally, Dragon, we asked the immortal question: does it hold up? Here's the thing, Dragon. One of the things I was kind of interested in watching this movie a second time. First act, there's a lot of Christmas. As the movie goes on, it kind of focuses less and less on Christmas. You notice that?
Well, I mean, the kids are out of school for the holidays, and
It's more of a like I feel like it's more a winter movie that just happens to have a couple set pieces set at Christmas.
right. I mean, yeah, you're right. I think it's just kind of it's technically a Christmas movie, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know. This is one of those where it's like I toe the line a little bit. Like yeah, it's more a movie that features Christmas than a movie that's about Christmas. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
As far as holding up as a film is concerned, I do think it does. I really do. Like a lot better than a lot of stuff from the 90s. Yeah, the snowman effects might look a little dated, but I do like that it's a mix of puppets and and CGI and hand drawn animation and certain not hand drawn animation. What am I saying? I'm thinking but you know what I mean. Just it's a combination of a stop motion. That's what I'm thinking of. It's like all these different combinations coming together for this effect, and it did look pretty darn good at the time. Michael Keaton is charming as ever, of course. The family's well cast. So overall, Dragon, I definitely think this movie's worth watching. I just wouldn't put this at the top of my list in terms of movies that are really going to get me that Christmas atmosphere and that holiday spirit. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's got a couple good scenes with Christmas atmosphere in it, but I really think overall this is more of a winter movie. It's a good winter movie at that.
All right. Well, for me, it's it doesn't hold up as well as it used to for me. But it's harmless. I want to make that clear. It doesn't hold up quite as well, but it is harmless. It's not really bad. It's just it's passable. It's a movie that any time of year it's just kind of but I mean around the holidays I think it's more passable. I think it's more palatable around the holidays where it's kind of taking advantage of. Well, yes, it feels more like a winter movie, yes, but I think it's using kind of Christmas to kind of get you into kind of that kind of a like kind of sort of like snowmen and kind of like those kind of like kind of classic images of Christmas and winter. Again, I guess play better around kind of the winter and specifically kind of the Christmas holiday. So it kind of again it's passable, but specifically for the ending, I think it kind of elevates the movie as a whole altogether. So I think it kind of helps it in places. It's got the it's basically it has it's has novel. There's a novelty to the concept, but it's kind of bumpy in the execution. I guess it's not a go-to like it may have been years back for me or for anyone else. Again, I think you're really on the money with like the winter. Going beyond that, it has a charm to it, but you feel it could have been better, and I think you kind of see that in places. Could have been better, but on the whole, it's okay. It's fine.
All right.
All right.
Okay, take us away, Dragon.
Well, kids, time to dash away, dash away, dash away all, but as we wave goodbye, don't you cry. We'll be back again next time.
With even more seasonal shenanigans.
La 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 la
La la la
la.
la. I'm Jack Frost.